Gloria knelt beside her bed again that night, just like she had done for many years. Her voice tired, but her heart desperate, as she whispered slowly, "Lord, please give me a husband. I don't want to be alone anymore. I don't want people to keep asking me questions. I just want a good man, a God-fearing man, someone who will love me." She wiped her face and sighed deeply, adding, "Please, I am tired of waiting." While everything outside remained quiet, but inside her chest, fear spoke loudly. One by one, she had watched her friends move on into marriage. Rita already had 2 children, Sonia just celebrated her 3rd anniversary, and even younger women now wore wedding rings proudly. Yet Gloria was still waiting, still praying, still hoping, still pretending she was fine, not knowing that her prayer had already been answered twice through 2 different men who had entered her life. Victor was the first door, simple, gentle, and quiet, not flashy or polished, a man without a university degree and not fluent in big grammar, but rich in kindness. The first time he helped her carry her heavy bags without asking for thanks, and simply said softly, "Let me help you." She looked at him strangely and replied, "You don't have to." To which he smiled and said, "I know, but I want to." Because that was who Victor was, always willing to care, always willing to show up, always ready to give. Basil was the second door, and he was everything Victor was not: educated, sharp, confident, and refined. A man whose presence commanded attention and whose words carried weight. The first time he corrected Gloria's grammar and said, "You mean have gone, not has went." She felt embarrassed, but also strangely impressed when he added calmly, "It's fine," leaving her drawn to the authority in his tone. Victor made her feel comfortable, while Basil made her feel important. Victor offered peace, while Basil offered pride, and without realizing it, Gloria began to lean toward the pride she felt when she was around Basil, even as Victor confessed gently one evening during a quiet walk, "Gloria, I like you. I know I am not like those big men, but I will take care of you. I will do anything for you. I will move mountains for you." Words that softened her heart yet filled her with shame at the thought of what others would say about being with a man who struggled with pronunciation and public expression. Later, when Basil leaned forward during a conversation and told her, "You are different, but you must improve yourself. The world respects intelligence, and I can help you," something shifted inside her because Victor was offering love while Basil was offering status. And despite warnings from Sonia and Rita that Victor truly cared for her, Gloria convinced herself that he didn't fit into her world. So when Victor finally called and asked gently, "Did I do something wrong? I just want to know if I still have a chance," her silence answered him. And days later, when she ended things with him saying quietly, "I don't think we should continue this. We're not in the same class," she walked straight into Basil's promise of a future, not knowing that she had just closed a door that would never open again. The early days of Gloria's relationship with Basil felt like everything she had prayed for. And when he finally asked her to marry him, her heart danced with relief because she believed her long season of waiting had come to an end. He spoke confidently about their future, about growth, about respect, about how they would become a couple people admired. And when she said yes, she felt she had finally stepped into the life she always imagined for herself. Their wedding was simple but joyful, and Gloria smiled widely, telling Sonia and Rita, "He is educated, he understands the world, we will grow together." While Basil stood beside her with quiet pride, correcting small details during preparations and speaking firmly about how things should be done. Moments she ignored because she believed strength in a man meant leadership. But soon after the marriage began, the tone of their conversation started to change. What used to sound like guidance now sounded like criticism, and what used to feel like correction now felt like insult. Yet she kept convincing herself it was normal when he raised his voice over small things like how she spoke to guests, how she arranged the house, or how she responded during discussions. One evening, after she laughed loudly during a conversation with visitors, Basil pulled her aside and snapped, "You must learn how to control yourself. You are not a child." And when she tried to explain softly, "I didn't mean anything wrong," he cut her off sharply. "Stop arguing, you always want to talk back," leaving her silent and confused, because this was not the confident man she admired, but someone whose words carried weight in a different way, heavy and hurtful. As the weeks turned into months, the shouting became more frequent and the insults more direct, until Gloria began to notice she was shrinking inside her own home, carefully choosing her words to avoid provoking Basil and avoiding conversations that might trigger another lecture or angry outburst. He complained about how she dressed, how she spoke, how she handled simple matters, often saying things like, "You must improve yourself if you want to match me," or "Sometimes I wonder if you even understand the kind of life I am trying to build." And though he never raised his hand, his words were enough to bruise her confidence deeply. When she confided in Rita one afternoon, whispering, "He shouts at me for everything," Rita looked at her sadly and asked, "But didn't you see this before you married him?" Gloria hesitated before replying, "I thought it would get better." Yet it didn't. Instead, Basil grew more impatient, sometimes speaking harshly even in front of others. And each time, he later apologized with a calm explanation like, "I just want the best for us." She accepted it, hoping change would come. But one night, after he publicly embarrassed her during a disagreement and later dismissed her tears by saying, "You are too sensitive," Gloria lay awake realizing something painful. She had married a man who valued control over kindness. And as the silence of the night wrapped around her, she wondered for the first time if the door she had closed behind Victor had been the one that led to peace.
The longer Gloria stayed in the marriage, the more the joy she once felt began to fade, replaced by a quiet fear that followed her through every conversation with Basil. Because no matter how careful she tried to be, something always seemed to irritate him. If she spoke too softly, he called her dull. If she spoke too confidently, he accused her of trying to challenge him. And when she tried to stay silent, he would say, "You are becoming lazy with your thoughts." One evening, after she prepared dinner and placed it carefully on the table, he tasted it and frowned before saying sharply, "Did you even check the salt before serving this?" She replied gently, "I did. Maybe I can adjust it." But he pushed the plate slightly and snapped, "You must learn to pay attention." And though it sounded small, the tone cut deeply. Later that night, when she gathered courage and said, "Basil, the way you speak to me hurts," he sighed impatiently and responded, "Everything hurts you. Marriage is not for weak people," leaving her speechless because she had never imagined love would feel like walking on broken glass. Even during peaceful moments, she sensed a distance growing. And while Basil continued to speak about ambition and self-improvement, Gloria began to feel like she was slowly disappearing inside a life that no longer felt safe. Meanwhile, memories of Victor started returning quietly, not as a comparison she wanted, but as a reminder she could not stop. She remembered how he would ask, "Are you tired?" instead of pointing out what she did wrong, and how he once said, "Rest, I will handle it," instead of correcting her tone or posture. One afternoon, while sitting with Sonia, she finally admitted, "Sometimes I feel like I made a mistake." And Sonia looked at her carefully before asking, "Do you feel loved?" Gloria hesitated before answering softly, "I feel managed," a response that revealed more than she intended. At home that evening, Basil raised his voice again over a minor issue, saying, "You must stop behaving like you don't understand simple instructions." And something inside Gloria broke as she replied, "I am not your student, Basil. I am your wife." But he dismissed her words with a wave of his hand and said, "Then start acting like one." That night, as she lay awake staring at the ceiling, she realized the warmth in her marriage had disappeared completely, replaced by tension and silence. And for the first time, she wondered whether love could survive in a house where kindness no longer lived. The breaking point came quietly, not with a dramatic fight,
but with a simple moment that showed Gloria how empty her marriage had become. One afternoon, after Basil raised his voice at her again over something as small as how she answered a question from a visitor, she waited until the house was calm before saying softly, "I cannot continue like this." Basil looked at her briefly and replied, "Then improve," as if her pain was a weakness she needed to fix, not something he needed to understand. She tried again, her voice trembling. Marriage should not feel like fear. But he shook his head and said, "You are too emotional," ending the conversation without interest. That night, Gloria sat alone and realized she had been adjusting herself again and again while Basil had never adjusted for her. And for the first time, she asked herself a question she had been avoiding. What if this was not the life she was meant to live? When she finally told Sonia, "I think I am done," Sonia held her hand and asked, "Are you sure?" Gloria nodded slowly and replied, "Peace is more important than pride." Words that surprised even her because they sounded like something she had once ignored. The day she left, Basil did not try to stop her. He simply stood at the doorway and said, "If you walk out, don't expect me to beg you." And she replied quietly, "I am not looking for begging. I am looking for breathing," before stepping outside into a silence that felt both heavy and freeing. In the weeks that followed, she began to reflect deeply, replaying the choices she had made and the doors she had closed, until Victor's name returned strongly to her mind, not as a memory, but as a possibility she had once rejected. One afternoon, she told Rita, "I need to see him." And Rita hesitated before saying, "Life has moved on." But Gloria insisted, "I must try," driven by a hope that maybe it was not too late. With a heart full of regret and a fragile courage, she prepared herself to find the man who once promised to move mountains for her, not knowing that the journey ahead would reveal a truth she was not ready to face. When Gloria finally gathered the courage to look for Victor, her heart carried both fear and hope, because she believed that maybe time had not completely erased what once existed between them. She imagined he would smile again, speak gently again, and perhaps still have a place for her in his life. But when she arrived and saw him standing beside another woman whose hand rested comfortably in his, something inside her sank before a single word was spoken. Victor looked surprised but calm as he said, "Gloria, it's been a while." And she managed to reply softly, "Yes, it has." The woman beside him smiled politely, and Victor introduced her simply, "This is Mirabel." And when Gloria asked quietly, "Your wife?" he nodded without hesitation. The silence that followed felt heavy until Victor spoke again. "She values me, not with pride, but with quiet truth." And Gloria forced a small smile while saying, "I am happy for you," even though her voice trembled. Later, as she walked away, she realized that the man who once said he would move mountains had indeed moved on, not out of bitterness, but because someone else had seen his worth when she could not. In the years that followed, Gloria watched life continue around her, while her own remained paused in reflection. And though she rebuilt her strength and learned to live peacefully alone, the memory of her choice never fully left her. She often remembered Victor's quiet kindness and Basil's loud control, understanding now that love is not measured by status or polished words, but by gentleness and respect. One evening, while speaking with Rita, she said slowly, "I prayed for a husband, but I didn't recognize the answer." And Rita responded softly, "Sometimes answers don't return when we reject them." As time passed and Gloria grew older, proposals stopped, not because she lacked worth, but because life had simply moved forward. And though she accepted her reality with grace, she lived with a lesson she wished she had learned earlier, that pride can silence peace, and that kindness, once lost, may never return. In the quiet of her days, she no longer prayed for a husband, but for understanding, knowing that some doors, once closed, remain closed forever. The moral lesson in this story is that we should choose kindness over pride. Genuine love may not come twice. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more interesting stories. Thank you for watching. See you in my next story.